right now, to your left, the magnificent Douglas DC-4 on the takeoff roll. And we're going to tell you about this aircraft in just a little while. In the military, the airplane was designated as the C-54 in the United States Army Air Corps and in the United States Navy. The DC-4, a product of the Douglas Aircraft Corporation and one of only a handful of these aircraft that are still left in airworthy condition. The airplane is powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney radial engines, 4 Pratt & Whitney R2000s, each of them putting out 1,450 horsepower, almost 6,000 horsepower, powering this magnificent 4-engined aircraft. Originally designed as an airliner, it found its way into military service during the Second World War, once again in both the United States Army Air Corps, Navy, and Marine Corps. And through the years was an airliner. In fact, for those of us that grew up here in California, you'll remember, well, I hate to say how old I am, so I'm not going to, but old enough to remember when United Airlines was still flying DC-4s up and down the Central Valley to and from San Francisco and Los Angeles. In fact, one of my very first airline rides as a young boy was on board a DC-4, very similar to this. You see of United Airlines. This particular DC-4 is operated by Aero Group Holdings, based in Florida. And this airplane, though it's based here in California, also flies across the United States. And when it taxied past, you will notice that on the upper surface of the wing, on the aircraft, you saw some spray booms, which are very similar to the type of spray booms that are located on the wings of crop dusting aircraft. This airplane, in its present configuration, is operated by this company to spray oil dispersant material over the water in the event of an oil spill in the ocean or on a lake or a large body of water. That is chiefly what the aircraft is used for. From your air show right, our 2 pilots today are going to bring this magnificent, majestic aircraft back around for a beautiful photo pass. The magnificent Douglas DC-4. With over 16 years of flying experience in this aircraft type. He has flown throughout North America, chiefly up and around Alaska, where the bulk of this aircraft's flying had taken place, but now the airplane based at the now closed, but was originally the Castle Air Force Base location at water over near Merced. With a crew of 2, has a payload capability of 18,000 pounds. Fully loaded, the aircraft weighs 91,000 pounds. It's about 96.5 feet long with a 112-foot wingspan. Now, coming in from your right and over your right shoulder, the aircraft is now going to be configured in what we call the dirty attitude, with the flaps and the landing gear lowered. Sam and his co-pilot have brought the airplane into that configuration, and as they come around from your air show right, you'll see this majestic aircraft in a slow speed configuration. Now, the top speed of the airplane is a little over 200 miles per hour, and in cruising configuration, the aircraft is capable of cruising very comfortably at about 190 miles per hour. But with the addition of the spray booms just above the upper surface of the wing of the aircraft, the speed range is limited to a top speed of 170 and actually at a maneuvering speed of around 150 miles per hour. So the pilots are going to have the aircraft slowed down just a little bit as they come back in, also because the landing gear and the flaps are deployed. second of 3 children born to a family, the father of whom was a banker. So from an early age, Douglas began to display some extraordinary mathematical skills. He was actually quite a brilliant young man in math and engineering for that particular time in history. He graduated from high school at the age of 16 years old, 2 years ahead of time. He was enrolled and accepted at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology at that age and graduated with a degree in engineering at the age of 19 years old. Upon that graduation, he went to work for the Army War Department in Washington, D.C. as an engineering consultant. At the end of the First World War, he began designing and developing aircraft for a number of manufacturers of the day before, in 1925, moving to California and beginning Douglas Aircraft. The magnificent DC-4. What a great airplane. When Donald Douglas opened his business in Santa Monica, California, he began building sport airplanes, biplanes, out of the designs of the day, and modifying aircraft for personal use by small businesses and Hollywood executives. On obtaining a personal loan from a very benevolent financier in the amount of about $250,000, Douglas began designing the first of his aircraft for the United States military. It was the Douglas torpedo bomber for the United States Navy. The design was very effective, and immediately after that, the Army Air Corps solicited a design for Douglas to design 4 aircraft to do, or attempt I should say, the first around-the-world flight. He modified the Douglas torpedo bomber into what would become known as the Douglas World Cruiser. Once again, from your air show right, have your cameras ready for another magnificent pass by the Douglas. The Douglas World Cruisers, 4 of which were built, were all named after one of 4 cities located around the compass of the United States. They were Seattle, the New Orleans, the Chicago, and the Boston. 2 of the 4 aircraft, over 180 days, managed to complete the around-the-world flight. From that point forward, the Douglas name was very famous in aviation circles. In fact, the moniker that he took after that was First Around the World. Douglas really achieved fame in the early 1930s with the design and the introduction of the magnificent twin-engine transport, the DC-3. Following the DC-3 was the aircraft you see before you, the Douglas DC-4, which was followed by the DC-6 and 7, and then one of the first aircraft of the jet age, the Douglas DC-8. This beautiful DC-4 is making its way now back to its home base over at Atwater at the original Castle Air Force Base, where the aircraft calls home. And our thanks again to the crew for bringing the airplane over, a unique opportunity to see one of the great grand transport aircraft of the piston engine era, the DC-4.